Dinepensahan ni dating Presidential Spokesperson Harry Roque at Foreign Affairs Secretary Teddy Boy Locsin Jr. ang pagkalas ng Pilipinas sa International Criminal Court o ICC. Git ng mga opisyal, walang jurisdiksyon ang ICC para magsagawa pa ng investigasyon laban kay Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. Ang sento po ng balita niyan mula kay Naomi Tiburcio, live.
Angelique, wala ng bisa ang lahat ng reklamo sa International Criminal Court o ICC laban kay Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. Ito ang sinabi ni dating Presidential Spokesperson Harry Roque sa kick-off ceremony sa 7th Biennial Conference of the Asian Society of International Law dito sa DFA sa Pasay City. Aniya ang pagkalas ng Pilipinas ay hudyat na wala ng jurisdiksyon ng ICC para magpatuloy sa isang preliminary investigation. Naging epektibo ang withdrawal isang taon matapos magpasa ng written notification ang Pilipinas sa pag-atras mula sa Rome Statute. Ayon kay Foreign Affairs Secretary Teddy Boy Locsin Jr., ginamit ng ICC ang karapatang pantao. Pakinggan natin ang magkasunod na pahayag ni Secretary Locsin at ng Pinuno ng Asian Society of International Law na si Harry Roque.
And lately, I got us out of the International Criminal Court, into which we entered over consistently strong opposition, consistently strong American opposition, because the ICC has a disarming effect on military alliances. When the ICC weaponized human rights to defend the drug trade, we got out pronto.
The President did take the correct decision to withdraw. Why? Well, obviously, the ICC was never intended to be a court of first resort. We gave our consent to be bound by the Rome Statute of the ICC under the principle of complementarity.
Dagdag ni Roque, court of last resort ang ICC. Ibig sabihin, hindi maaaring gumalaw ang ICC hanggat hindi gumagalaw ang lokal na hukuman. May jurisdiction lamang ang ICC kapag hindi inimbestigahan ng lokal na hukuman ang mga krimen laban sa international community. Aniya, kung magsasampa ng kaso, maaaring lumapit sa ombudsman dahil may kakayanan naman ng bansa upang linisin ang mga lumalabag sa mga krimen at karapatang pantao. Wala rin aniyang inilabag na obligasyon ng Pilipinas dahil nagbigay ang bansa ng notice isang taon ang nakakaraan sa pag-withdraw sa ICC. Ito muna ang pinukuling balita mula rito sa Pasay City, Naomi Tiburcio para sa bayan.
Sa ang palasyo ng Malacanang sa mga bumatikos sa pagkalas ng Pilipinas sa International Criminal Court o ICC. Ayon kay Presidential Spokesperson Salvador Panelo, hindi kailanman naging miyembro ng ICC ang Pilipinas. Hindi naman anya kasi naging state party ang Pilipinas sa Rome Statute na bumuo sa ICC at non-existent umano ang naturang tribunal. Ang jurisdictional crimes na hawak umano ng ICC ay sakop na ng batas ng Pilipinas. Kaya't sino man ang nagnanais ng hustisya para sa naranasang krimen ay maaari namang magreklamo sa mga korte ng bansa.
Our position is very clear. The position of the President is unequivocal and inflexible. ICC never acquired jurisdiction over our country for the reason that he has given us. The requirement of publication imposed by law was not observed. There has to be publication in a newspaper of general circulation or on official gazette, even if there was a ratification by Congress or by the Senate.
Bukod dito, wala rin anyang aasahang kooperasyon sa pamahalaan ng Pilipinas ang ICC sakaling ituloy pa ang investigasyon sa crimes against humanity bunga ng anti-drug war campaign na isinampa laban kay Pangulong Duterte.
Even assuming, for the sake of argument, that we have been under the jurisdiction of ICC, and even assuming that we have withdrawn, because as far as we're concerned, the letter submitted to them was more of a courtesy telling them that we have never been under your jurisdiction.
Samantala, iginiit ni Panelo na pipigilan ng gobyerno ang ICC sa anumang investigasyon na gagawin ng mga ito kabilang na ang di pagbibigay ng visa sa mga ito para pumunta sa bansa. Matatandaang pumalas na ang Pilipinas sa ICC epektibo noong linggo. Ang withdrawal ng bansa ay naging pinal isang taon matapos abisuhan ng gobyerno ng Pilipinas ang United Nations sa desisyon na kumalas na sa Rome Statute ang international treaty na lumikha sa ICC. Gayunpaman sa kabila nito ay ginitang ICC na tuloy pa rin ang kanilang investigasyon laban kay Pangulong Duterte hinggil sa EJK sa bansa kahit umatras na ang Pilipinas sa kasunduan. Nauna nang sinabi ng Commission on Human Rights na ang pagkalas ay hakbang sa pagtalikod ng Pilipinas sa International Treaty Obligations at talo ang mga Pilipino rito dahil wala nang matatakbuhan kung hirap silang kumuha ng hustisya sa bansa. Ayon naman kay Senator Riza Ontiveros, hindi ito pagtataguyod ng soberanya, kundi pagtatanggol ng isang tiranya. Ang Gabriela Party List naman nagbabala na dadami pa ang kaso ng human rights, kaya dapat paigtingin ang kampanya para dito.
Those fears are misplaced. It only demonstrates the ignorance of certain historical circumstances that occur in this country.
Ani Bicro, Newsline.
Take effect immediately, but you have also the provision in the Rome Statute that you have to wait for 1 year at least before that takes effect.
Yes, but he also said that there is fraud. You know, there is such thing as rescission of contract when there is fraud. Well, where's the fraud there? You know, when we entered into that agreement, it presupposes that the Rome Statute will recognize our Constitution, but it does not. Well, what did the special prosecutor do? She announced that there's a preliminary examination, which she has pointed to the world, and that created the impression that this president is going to be subjected to an investigation.
But how is that?
Prematurely.
But how is that fraudulent?
Because when you enter into agreement, there is the assumption and the belief, which you were made to believe, that you will recognize our Constitution. And our Constitution says there is a presumption of innocence, that there is due process of law. And that is a violation of due process of law when you're being subjected to a jurisdiction when there is precisely no law to speak of.
Pero is not yet being subjected to the jurisdiction of the ICC precisely because it's still at this stage of preliminary examination.
Exactly.
Not even preliminary investigation.
Exactly. That precisely why the president is reacting against, because they should have not made that announcement, as you said earlier. The ordinary reader and viewer will never understand about preliminary examination as against preliminary investigation.
So what is the issue as far as the president is concerned? The fact that the preliminary examination was announced or that there is jurisdiction? Kasi wala pa talagang issue ng jurisdiction at this point.
There is already an issue of jurisdiction because precisely since there is no Rome Statute to speak of within this country.
Covering the Philippines?
Exactly.
Even if it was ratified by the Senate?
It was ratified, but as I said, international law cannot prevail over domestic law. Our law says before a law can be effective, it has to be published in the OG. So there is jurisdiction already.
But can the president unilaterally announce the withdrawal of the Philippines from the ICC without the Senate's concurrence?
Well, there is a view that it needs Senate concurrence. Our feeling there is it does not, because in the first place, it's the president who charts foreign policy. Secondly, the Constitution only says that there is a need for a concurrence ratification with respect to treaty, but there is no provision saying that when it comes to withdrawal, you need the ratification of the Senate.
So your view is?
Our view is you don't need it.
You don't need the concurrence of the Senate.
Yes, but even if it does, I don't think there is a problem about that.
But how do you respond to this emerging impression that the president is now the subject of a preliminary examination by the ICC in connection with the war on drugs? Now, he's removing the Philippines from the ICC, from that particular mechanism. Sinasabi ng iba, baka naman takot lang si Presidente Duterte dyan.
Oh, I don't think so. As we all know, the president is such a tough fighter and very courageous in facing all odds against him.
Oh, so why don't he face the ICC if eventually it acquires jurisdiction?
He is a lawyer, and we lawyers are trained to be strictly observant of what the Constitution and the law says. The law says there is no Rome statute to speak of. Why should we allow ourselves to be under the jurisdiction of a statute that does not even exist?
Has there been an extensive consultation among government agencies and even the public on this decision? That's my first decision. That's my first question. Second,
Maybe we should respond immediately to that so that will not be lost. One, the president is the chief architect of foreign policy. He doesn't have to consult. He was elected to be the leader of this country. And everything that he does would be reflected, a reflection of the sentiments of the Filipino people. And to my mind, there is no need for an extensive discussion on that with respect to the other sectors of society. He has studied that. He's been there. He has been, in fact, threatening to do that, and he has finally did it.
thank you for responding to that question, Attorney Panelo, because the way the statement was issued and even the notice and how you spoke right now, it actually seems that this is a decision that is very personal to the president and actually has an impact on the entire country. And that is really an area of concern for us because to us, it cannot be the decision of a personal, it cannot be the decision of an individual that has an impact on all.
Now, let me ask you, what is the effect of the withdrawal of this country from the ICC? Give me a bad effect.
Okay. One of the, well, it actually shows that the Philippines is turning its back to international rule of law. So it means that we refuse to be part of the international community. We have actually, you said that the Philippines is one of the very few countries in Asia that is a state party to the ICC. That is true. And that is actually something that we should be proud of because we have joined this community and we are ready to combat impunity through this type of proceedings, through this court.
Are you saying now that the United States and other major countries who have withdrawn and do not want to be members are not respecting the rule of law? Precisely, it's the rule of law that the president is invoking from removing itself from the jurisdiction of the ICC.
Attorney Panelo, one thing I noticed is that we always compare ourselves to the United States. One of the things that I can say, I studied in the United States, I went to law school also in the United States. One of the things that we can say is that the United States is not the best example when it comes to international human rights law or even international law. So as a country that aims to be a responsible citizen or a responsible member of the international community, I am not sure if we should be comparing ourselves to the United States.
But even without the comparison, as I said, what effect? You said that we will come out as a violator of the rule of law, but precisely it's the president invoking the rule of law. You're violating the rule of law in this country. And our country should reign supreme over that Rome statute which is not enforceable in the first place. You're putting me within your jurisdiction when you cannot do that.
Well, I think you will find in our letter, number one, let me just point out that it doesn't really adequately explain the statement of the president how the preliminary examination violates rule of law. Number two, the preliminary examination, as you clearly stated, is not an investigation, and it doesn't put the president or any other person under its jurisdiction. It's actually really the very first phase of ascertaining whether it has jurisdiction. That's why we indicated in our letter, the ICJ actually indicated in its letter, that one of the best steps that the Philippines could have taken to thwart ICC jurisdiction is to respond to the prosecutor that it is investigating all these allegations of extrajudicial killings. So instead of running away from the ICC, it should have faced it. That would have thwarted the ICC from acquiring jurisdiction.